The sand was soft under Orion Vale's boots, whispering with every step he took. The ocean stretched endlessly ahead, an expanse of silver and blue under twin suns. The wind carried salt and the scent of kelp. In his arms, light as glass and just as fragile, lay the girl he'd promised to bring here before her body failed her completely. Her name was Leora, and she was the last of her kind that Orion had ever met alive. Her species, the Ketheri, had once ruled the skies of Thalessa, a water world now poisoned by war and industry. Orion, a former medic for the Terran fleet, had found her 2 years ago on the ruins of an orbital station. She had been half-starved, her body locked in a strange paralysis from an ancient bioweapon that her people had used against each other in their final war. He hadn't meant to keep her. He was just supposed to stabilize her, get her to a colony hospital. But when she had whispered, "Don't let them take me apart," he hadn't been able to walk away. Now he was carrying her to the sea she'd dreamed about ever since. Leora's eyes, luminescent and pale as dawn, watched the waves in silence. The neural interface on her temple glimmered faintly, helping her translate and speak. "You didn't have to carry me this far, Orion," she said softly. Her voice was melodic, like a distant chime. "I said I'd take you to see the ocean," Orion answered, his breath ragged as he trudged over a dune. "That means all the way there, not halfway." "You're exhausted." "Yeah," he said with a grin. "But I've carried heavier things." Her gaze softened. "You don't mean weight," he chuckled. "Maybe not." They reached the ridge overlooking the water. Orion slowly knelt, setting her gently on a blanket. Her silver hair fanned out over her shoulders. The twin suns reflected off her smooth, translucent skin, making her seem like she was carved from starlight. Leora reached out with trembling fingers, letting grains of sand slip between them. "I've seen oceans in dreams," she whispered. "But dreams have no scent, no sound." The waves rolled, slow and rhythmic, as if listening to her. Orion sat beside her, knees drawn up, watching her watch the sea. "Worth it?" he asked. "Yes." Her voice quavered. "More than I imagined." He spent the day there with her. They ate what little they'd brought, fruit and ration bread. The suns dipped lower. The air cooled, turning the sea from blue to violet. Orion told her about the places he'd been, the asteroid cities, the domed farms on Luna Prime, the frozen mountains of Kartos. In turn, she spoke of her people. "We were born in the air," she said. "We built cities on clouds. We thought the oceans belonged only to the beasts below. What happened? Pride," she said simply, "and fear. We thought we could tame everything. When the storms came, we fought them instead of bending." There was a pause. The sea hissed quietly on the shore. "I used to fly," she said, "before the paralysis. My wings." She looked down at her folded back, where faint outlines of ridges once sprouted from her shoulder blades. "They withered when I was infected." "I'm sorry," Orion said quietly. Leora turned her head, studying him. "You always apologize for things you didn't do." "Someone should." For a while, they sat in silence. The horizon bled orange. That night, under a sky blooming with stars, Orion built a small fire. He sat near her, but she'd fallen silent again, gazing at the sea as if searching for something lost. Then she spoke, so quietly he almost didn't hear. "Do you ever regret helping me?" He looked at her, startled. "Why would I?" "Because I am broken. A burden." Orion shook his head. "You're not a burden, Leora. You're a person. Someone worth saving." She closed her eyes. "Humans are strange." "Yeah, I get that a lot." "No," she said softly. "Strange in the best way. When my people found weakness, they hid it. When yours find it, they carry it until it heals. He didn't answer, but his throat tightened. Sometime after midnight, Leora stirred. Her bioluminescence shimmered faintly blue, something that happened only when she was deeply emotional. Orion, she said, tomorrow, when the suns rise, can you carry me closer? I want to feel the water touch me. Of course. And when I'm gone, will you scatter me here? He frowned. Don't talk like that. It's time. The paralysis spreads faster now. My heart will slow soon. Stop, he said sharply. You've fought this far. You'll fight longer. But she just smiled sadly, her eyes glowing faintly. Humans always think everything can be fought. Dawn came pale and slow. The world was quiet except for the waves. Orion lifted her again, her body so light it frightened him. They went down to the edge of the surf. The water hissed against his boots. He knelt, letting the waves lick over her feet. It's cold, she gasped softly, eyes wide with wonder. That's the ocean, he said. Alive. For a long moment, she said nothing, just breathed, watching the horizon. Then, without warning, she whispered. Orion stepped back. He looked at her, puzzled. What? Please. Just a step. He obeyed, reluctantly setting her down in the shallow surf. And then, her fingers twitched, her spine arched. Light raced under her skin like molten silver. Her legs moved. Orion froze, unable to breathe. Leora pushed herself up, trembling, the glow spreading down her limbs. She staggered once, then stood fully upright, on her own. The sea rushed around her ankles, splashing up against her knees. You can. Yes, she whispered, voice shaking. I can. He stood speechless as she took one hesitant step, then another, walking into the tide. Each step steadied her more, her movements becoming graceful, almost weightless. I lied, she said softly, turning to him. I wasn't always paralyzed. Not completely. The weapon locked my muscles when I was near others. My people called it the shame curse. It punished survivors who resisted surrender. But alone, my body remembers itself. Orion's heart pounded. You mean you? I didn't tell you, she interrupted, tears streaming down her glowing cheeks, because I needed to know if you'd carry me anyway. He blinked, stunned. You carried me without reward, without hope. You carried me because your heart told you to. She looked down at her trembling hands. Now I know what it means to be human. He stepped toward her, voice thick. Leora, you didn't need to test me. I did. She turned back toward the sea. I needed to believe love could exist without reason. For a while, she stood there, waves swirling around her legs, twin suns blazing gold over her silver skin. Then she turned and walked toward him, the light fading back to its gentle shimmer. I'm sorry, she whispered, for deceiving you. Orion's jaw clenched. Then, slowly, he exhaled. You don't owe me an apology. He opened his arms. She hesitated, then stepped into them. Her voice trembled against his chest. I thought I was dying, but maybe I was just waiting. For what? For someone to see me. He held her tighter. I see you. By midday, they sat together watching the sea again. The sky was clear, the air crisp. What will you do now? He asked quietly. She smiled faintly. Walk. Fly, if I can remember how. And after that? Live. He looked out at the water. You'll leave then. Her eyes softened. I may travel far, but I'll never leave what you gave me. What's that? Faith, she said simply. That there's beauty in broken things. As the suns began to set again, she stood one last time at the water's edge. Orion watched her raise her arms. The faint ridges along her back glowed brighter, unfolding like wings of glass and light. With a shiver, she leapt, hovering a few feet above the waves, her body blazing with color. The sea mirrored her radiance, scattering beams of silver across the horizon. When she landed again, her smile was radiant. "I can still fly," she said, laughing softly. "Then you should," Orion whispered. "I will, but not tonight." She walked back to him and sat down beside him again, shoulder brushing his. "Tonight I stay." Long after darkness fell, the fire burned low. Orion leaned back, gazing at the stars reflected in the sea. Leora lay beside him, her light dim but steady. She murmured drowsily, "Do you ever think the universe made us meet on purpose?" "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe we were just both lost in the same place." She smiled. "Either way, you carried me home." And as the waves whispered against the shore, the paralyzed girl who could walk, and the human who carried her anyway, sat together at the edge of the infinite sea, watching the stars bloom over the water. Both of them, at last free.